Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another round of Mind Your Puckin' Business with your host, Jeffrey Princeman.
Thank you, Dougie Sticks, coming to you as always from the beautiful and I should say frigid studios of Undefeated Media here in Bergen County, New Jersey. This is the Mind Your Pucking Business podcast brought to you by our good friends at the Bamboozle Project along with DraftKings. We thank them for their sponsorship as always. You can check out the bamboozleproject.com. Go on the site. Plenty of winter hats there if you're tired of winter already and already kind of warped levels going into spring or summer. There's summertime gear on there as well. Go on the site, use promo code MYPB at checkout, save yourself 20% off your entire order. This is episode 183, Ciento Ochenta y Tres. So if you're joining us using the Spanish speaking features available to you today, we welcome you to the show and hope you enjoy. We are taping this on Wednesday, January 22nd. So everything that we talk about today is current. So if you're streaming us on Spotify or iTunes or any of the streaming devices and you're wondering where we were when we were talking, as you're about to hear, it was Wednesday, January 22nd. You can send us your questions at any time at mypbshow@gmail.com, or you can DM us on the Instagram platform, and that goes on all day long and all night long. I realized this morning when I turned my phone on, and you can do that at Mind Your Pucking Business, all one word. And you can watch the show live with us on YouTube and Instagram Live. How are you?
Great. How are you?
I am good. I am a little cold.
Yeah, well, the heat's jacked up. The only thing we don't have in here is a space heater. Space heater's in the other room, but we can get it.
You know, before we get into the Rangers, and we will in about 20 seconds, I walked into Dunkin' Donuts this morning to get my iced tea that I do every morning. It was the first time in my life that they said, you cannot come get iced tea. The pipes are frozen.
Wow.
So I had to go to the other
That's
one.
not good.
So, yes.
That's not good at all.
So I could see the comments already on YouTube. How are you guys? Alvin, good to see you. I met you at the game on Saturday night. We'll get to that in a minute. So we were on last Wednesday, and at that point, the Rangers had lost the night before in Colorado in overtime, and they had one more game left on their kind of mini Western Conference road trip, a 3-game road trip, and that was a stop at the Utah Hockey Club, which would be the first time the Rangers have ever played there.
Mhm.
And, you know, it's the end of a road trip versus a bad team. It's a game that you need to win, right? This team is in a situation right now, and Joe Micheletti said this last night, that it's different than last year where you need points right now to even make the playoffs. So it's the end of a road trip. You're playing a bad team. Look, you walked out of there with 2 points, which is really all that matters. You know, they were down 3-2 going into the third. And they could have packed it in. Riley Smith ties it in the opening minute of the third last week, shorthanded. Kreider then wins it. They add a goal in the last minute by Panarin, and they walk off with a 5-3 win. And it almost actually an Igor goal, but they end up winning. It's all that matters, right? You take the 2 points and move on. So Saturday night they come home and they play Columbus. Now I went. So here's what happened. I had ended up with like 15 tickets to this game over the summer when the Ranger ticket stuff kind of happened. So I knew I was going. It was also my birthday week, so we figured we would go. The way they had been playing, I was a little bit hesitant, but I said, we're going to go. We hadn't been since the game, and I actually hadn't been to a Ranger game since December when I went with Frank the Tank, and I got lit up by the Devils. So, and I see B-Rock laughing in the corner over there. I heard that, by the way. He enjoys that. Anyway, it was great to be in the building. So the lineups start. Now, we're sitting not in my normal seats. We have 2 women that are next to us that are friends that are from the UK. They're in New York for the first time. I'm talking to her, and she said, someone told me that I need to go to a Ranger game while I'm in New York City. So we bought tickets. And she said, I know the Rangers are playing well, and I wanted to say, well, you may want to check your sources on that. So they announced the starting lineups as I'm talking to her, and they announced that, they're not playing Columbus is not playing their normal goalie. They're playing Tarasov, who's in goal for them. And he has his record, because if you go to a Ranger game, they will. I think they do this on TV too. They'll always put the goalie matchup, in like a box on a screen. Here's who's in goal for one team. Here's who's in goal for the other. And here's a quick stats, right? Their record, their goals against, yada, yada, yada. This guy has a 4-11 record and a 4.0 goals against, which is not good. Right? The record's not good. The goals against are not good. So the person behind me says something like, "Oh, the Rangers will probably score a lot tonight." And I turned around and I said, "Look, if you know anything historically with the New York Ranger franchise, when you have a backup goalie that comes into MSG, they normally play well, right?" And that is what you ended up happening on a Friday night. It was 65 minutes of, I don't want to say boredom, but a lack of chances, a lack of quality chances. I had to watch Mika attempt at Michigan when he can't even score. Not doing Michigan these days. I just, like, it just wasn't that exciting. It goes to a shootout. Well, actually, before it goes to the shootout, let's talk this. Mika Zibanejad, we ended up sitting, if you're familiar with the Garden, we were in section on Saturday night, we were in 226, which is also the other side of the arena from where my normal seats are. So the Rangers do not shoot twice at that net. They'll shoot there. They'll defend that first and third and shoot second. Well, in overtime 3-on-3, actually, this is different from some years past. They now change, and the Rangers are shooting at the net in overtime 3-on-3, which is great. So to me, awesome, right? We have a great view of it. I watched Mika Zibanejad not screw up one breakaway in overtime, but two, which is remarkable when you think about it. And it's even more remarkable when you think that a week and a half earlier, when the Devils, thankfully, when the Rangers beat the Devils in overtime on Sam Carrick's goal, before Carrick scored that goal, Mika Zibanejad missed a breakaway in overtime. I could also go back to last Tuesday on my birthday when they were playing in Colorado and Mika Zibanejad missed a breakaway in overtime. So if I take the Devil one, the Avalanche, and the two that I witnessed in front of my eyes, he has missed 4 breakaways on 3-on-3 overtime. That is unbelievable. Now, if you think that is
I have something
crazy,
I really want to say.
No, I'm gonna wait because I'm gonna say something else here that is mind-boggling to me. And I've said this here before, and I'm not always right, and I will admit when I am wrong. I didn't want Peter Laviolette to get the coaching job 2 years ago, and he's done a really good job, right? They won the President's Trophy. He's kind of dealing with a lot here. Maybe he's turned the ship around. We go into the shootout. Now, the Rangers shoot first and miss. Columbus shoots and misses. Trocheck scores for the Rangers. Scores. Columbus misses. So now you're in the third round. You're up 1-0. If the Rangers score here, it's over. Now, you don't know in the arena, and you don't say it on TV either, who the predetermined selected 3 shooters are. Now, in my mind, it cannot be Mika Zibanejad. I just watched him literally 3 minutes prior miss not 1, but 2 breakaways. So let's now go back to Mika Zibanejad and have him come out on the shootout and screw it up again. But to me, I wish I knew the logic as to why Mika Zibanejad was given that opportunity to shoot there. Now, my wife, who was at the game with me, said, and it could be right, but it bothers me if it is right, which was that, well, he's trying to help Mika improve his confidence. But you're telling me that I've watched the guy go 0-for-4 on breakaways now in the last week where the game is on his stick, right? Because if it goes in, and that's exactly the same situation in that shootout because you're up 1-0, why is he out there? Anyway, on Saturday night, Igor, excellent all around. In the first period in particular, the second half of that first period, he faced a lot of shots almost right in front of him, in front of his crease. He was on top of his game. A good win. I mean, he got 2 points, right? So I guess, my rant about Mika doesn't really matter because they got 2 points. It also was good to see a lot of MYPB people there walking through the concourses. Always nice to see you guys and kind of converse with you as well. Did you want to say something before we get on to the Montreal game?
I just wanted to say, because you were like, Mika can't hit breakaways. I want to tell you, I know one person who can't hit a breakaway.
You know one person who can hit a breakaway? Who? I don't know.
Rim Sanity.
Stop. We'll get there in a minute. That'll be another thing that's going to annoy me today. There's a lot of topics here today that are going to annoy me, by the way. All right, so back to back, they go up to Montreal Sunday night. Now, if you don't live in Long Island, because I don't think Long Island got a lot of snow. Not that northern New Jersey, where we taped this from, did get a lot of snow, but like you're kind of snowed in on Sunday night. You can't really get out. You have the Bills-Ravens game on one channel. You have the original 6 matchup, Rangers and Canadians, on another channel, provided you get it if you don't have Optimum, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're watching that game. Both teams are on a back-to-back, so I don't want any excuse from the Rangers while they're on a back-to-back. Montreal on Saturday night, the night prior, had a 3-goal lead versus their arch rival at home in Toronto and let up 7 consecutive goals and lost 7-3. So Montreal is not that good. Anyway, what was a little annoying about that game was you had a 1-goal lead 4 separate occasions. You went up 1-0. Montreal tied it at 1. You went up 2-1. Montreal tied it at 2. You went up 3-2. Montreal tied it at 3. You went up 4-3, and Montreal ties it at 4 until the game goes into overtime at 4-4, and the Rangers lose. So Keandre Miller on the game-winning goal, again, just a boneheaded defensive play and a lack of coverage. You can, if you want to subscribe, and happy belated birthday, by the way, to Keandre Miller, who turned 25 yesterday. But if you want to, and you can certainly do this. I mean, you're entitled if this is what you want to do and take this. But if you want to say that Keandre Miller should be here, and you like Keandre Miller, and you see things that he's that you like, you're entitled to do so. But if you're going to do that, you would not use the game-winning goal against Montreal as evidence that Keandre Miller should be here, because it just was a terrible defensive coverage on the game-winning goal. And this is something that, if you think I'm sounding like a broken record, I'm talking about it every week because it keeps happening within the past week. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
We will get to Matt Rempe. I see all the comments. We will get there in a moment, and we'll get there soon because we're going to get into the Ottawa game. Yesterday, the Rangers win 5-0. Now, it was a 5-0 final. It could have been 7-0 because the Rangers had 2 goals that were disallowed by offsides, correctly disallowed. And by the way, the first goal that was disallowed, which was scored by Sam Carrick, was disallowed because someone by the name Matt Rempe was offsides and should have never been offsides. But that's besides the point. We'll get there. So similar to, I thought, the New Jersey game 2 weeks ago, where it was in a long time the most complete game in almost all phases. Penalty killing, power play. They scored 2 last night in the third on the power play. Goaltending, of course, Igor now has back-to-back shutouts, so it certainly would appear that he is finding his game. And he went through this last year where he had some stretches of the regular season where he didn't do a lot. So, look, a complete game in all phases. We will discuss the third goal. The Rangers were up 2-0. And Matt Rempe scores. Now, to me, I love when the Rangers score, right? Why would I not? The worst possible person, if I had to pick that the worst possible person that could score is Matt Rempe, because what it does is it sets off the Matt Rempe army.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's exactly what it did. If you are, and this is not a plug. I'm not trying to promote this, but if you belong, and Dougie's man scored. But if you belong to the Mind Your Pucking Business group chat on Instagram, which we grow all the time, and it's awesome, and it gets a little intense in there as well. But if you belong to that, you knew that group chat was going to blow up because there are some Rempe fans in there. So can we talk about Matt Rempe? Can we talk about Matt Rempe for a minute? Because this is what you guys want to talk about. I see in the comments. This is Matt Rempe's first positive contribution to the team since game 1 versus the Capitals on a Sunday afternoon in April, when he scored the first goal of that game in the second period.
Mm-hmm.
If you told me to think back since that point in time, which was now 9 months ago, you could have had a baby in the amount of time since Matt Rempe scored. But if you told me since April, whatever it was, maybe 20th, I believe it was, or 21st, whatever that Sunday afternoon game on NBC was, name something on the ice that Matt Rempe has done that has been beneficial. I can't. And I understand, and I can see the comments, and everyone says, well, look at the record with Matt Rempe in the lineup. My opinion, it has nothing to do with Matt Rempe. If you're telling me that Igor Shesterkin stops every puck last night and stops every puck plus the shootout on Saturday night, and that's a byproduct of Matt Rempe being in the lineup, that Igor stopped every puck, I'm sorry, I'm not agreeing with that.
No one's comparing those two, but who's got more points this week, Rempe or Mika?
I don't. No, Mika scored the other day. He scored in Montreal. Uh,
Good American.
Matt Rempe, and look, Matt Rempe's presence might help, and I see this is where this is going on the YouTube comment. Matt Rempe's presence might help the team, but if you took Matt Rempe out of the lineup, I don't think it's a lot different. I'm not seeing, and maybe he's liked in the locker room, which is great. I'd rather a player be liked than disliked. And again, the Rangers locker room has been a mess this entire season. We know this. Trouba, like we know this. We don't need to be told.
Mm-hmm.
But even if there's a psychological benefit, as LRK811 is saying on Instagram right now, it's not the sort of thing that the team I can live without it. I don't need it. I don't know what he's doing. Him scoring yesterday only sets off, and you knew the second the puck went in that this was going to happen. The people that feel, and they're agreed to, they're allowed to feel it, and then they're entitled to their own opinion. I don't agree with it. But if you're going to sit here and tell me that this team cannot win without Matt Rempe, and this team is 7-1-3 in 2025 because of Matthew Rempe, you're nuts. They're not. I'm sorry. I don't know what you want me to say. Now, the other thing with last night, Igor Shesterkin, another shutout. Not a lot of high-quality chances. He did have the nice glove save on Brady Tkachuk in the second period. Not a lot of high-quality chances, but that's not on him, right? He stopped. You can only stop what's thrown at you as a goalie. So just a very good win. And the Rangers now, as I just mentioned, are 7-1-3 in 2025. Why don't we pull up some comments? We'll pull up a pinch of acute, and that's Emma's comments. Fans' love for Rempe is the same as their hate for Mika. Rempe can do no wrong. Mika can do no right. Now, that's a very good point, Emma. Now, I would say, now we know my take on Rempe, that I'm not a big fan. I don't wear his jersey. But I will also get on myself a little bit here, is sometimes I'll say that Mika can do no right. So, but that's a good point. By the way, the other night we're waiting, and I have this on video. If anyone wants to see this, I think I have it on video. You can DM us. We are waiting to go in the Garden. So the Garden will open their doors an hour before every game. Some other arenas do it longer, like Philly's an hour and a half. Why? I think the Prudential Center's an hour and a half. Anyway, the Rangers open an hour before. My kids insist, I don't know why, that we have to wait in line. We have to go in right when it opens at 6. And we're not going in to eat because they've already eaten Raisin Cane's and all that.
Spot.
Yeah, as they always do. So we're waiting to go in, and the vestibule to get into Tower A at the Garden gets a little crowded. And there's a bunch of people. Now, it must have been around like my age. You're younger than me. And it appeared that these were a bunch of parents that got a group of tickets and had a fun Saturday night out in the city, if you know what I mean. And the fun started before the game. A bunch of them were in Rempe jerseys, which I'm not sure why in the world you would spend your money on that, but that's up to them. And we're chanting Matt Rempe, literally going into the Garden.
He might be the spark we need.
He's not. Stop. He's not. He's not. So, all right. The Rangers 7-1-3 in 2025. If you look at that record in the last 11 games that they have played, all in the year 2025, they have gotten points in every game except one. That one game that they didn't get a point was the second game of the year, the Saturday afternoon game in Washington. So the question that everyone is asking constantly after every game, I see it in the DMs. I see people post about it. It's not just us. It is a simple 4-word question that keeps coming up, and it is, are the Rangers back? I see Instagram graphics with that term on it. Rempe is a modern-day Nick Fatu. I'm not going to take that one. So I'm not. So
Alvin says we are not back.
Alvin says we are not back. So how about this? Answer in the comments if you're watching live, and we'll pull a lot of them up. You're going to say the Rangers are back or they are not back. I am going to say no. Alvin is going to say no. That's 2 votes for no. I will take the Instagram if you're watching on Instagram, because I see there's a bunch of you watching there. We can take your comments there. I do not think they are back. I think that so this is not something that they can overcome, but it's something that has to be mentioned. They are competing for that last wild card spot with a bunch of other teams. It's not to say that they cannot pass those other teams.
I mean, the Capitals are running away with it right now.
Capitals are running away, but Emma has a good point. We'll pull it up. Rangers and Caps are tied for the most points in the NHL this year. She just said that, and that is a very good stat if that is true, and I am sure it is true if it's coming from her. So we have some other comments. Back-ish, heavy on the ish. I like that. No, they are not back. They're almost back. They're 60% back. They're showing a little life. Get into a wild card spot by next week, and then I'll say we're back. Definitely have to see more. Travel Master, we are definitely back. Was at the game last night. Absolute perfection. All right, so if I look at, because when you talk about are the Rangers back, really what you're asking is, are they going to make the playoffs, right? Because if you knew that they weren't going to make the playoffs, you wouldn't say that they're back. And if I sat here and told you that they are going to make the playoffs, then you would sit here and take the side that says they are back. So if I look at the playoff race right now, let's look at the Metropolitan Division. 3 teams get in. The Carolina is the second. Caps are 1. The Devils, who are not doing well lately, are the 3. The Devils have 58 points. The Rangers have 50 points, but 2 games at hand, which is interesting. I didn't realize that was that close, because if I say the Rangers win the 2 games they have at hand, they're 2 games behind the Devils, which is remarkable to me. If you go back to December 23rd in that afternoon game at the Prudential Center before Christmas, when the Rangers got absolutely lit up and B-Rock was doing cartwheels through the streets of northern New Jersey. So it's amazing that you say that. I don't think they're catching the Devils. So I would say this. I'd say that if they're going to get in some way, shape, or form, and again, I'm not necessarily saying that I think they will, but I would think their destiny would be a wild card. So the wild card team from the other conference is at 52-52. So both wild card teams at the moment come from the Atlantic Division. They are the Senators and the Canadiens at 52 points. The Rangers are 2 points behind that at 50 points, and they have played the same amount of games. So can the Rangers make up 1 game in the next, let's see, they have 35 games remaining? Of course they can. I don't know. To me, so there was an observation I had being at the game, and I usually don't make these observations unless I'm there. It's hard to do this on TV. But the other day when I was there versus Columbus, there's still an awful lot of just broken passes and disconnect, missing open man passes. I'd love to see that be corrected if I'm going to take the side that we're back. Chris brings up a good point. We'll pull up his comment. Doesn't matter if we're back or not. Still need to make moves, need the right personnel for a long cup runs, and we don't have that yet. I would say that if you got it, you found it. Right, I would say that if you are of the mindset that they are back, you would also probably say, as a part B or part 2, have to also agree with me that they have to make moves. Speaking of moves, all weekend, the Rangers are rumored to be in this JT Miller conversation. JT Miller, if you're new here, played on the Rangers many years. He was traded at the end of the 2018 season. Now, that season was not a good year. The Rangers had been kind of making the playoffs for a while, and then that year was the year it fell apart. It was Alain Vigneault who used to coach them that year. It was his last year here before he was fired after the last game of the year. So JT Miller was shipped out to Tampa. He played a couple years there, and he's been in Vancouver the last 3 years. Now, JT Miller, in the last 3 years, statistically has had really good years. He had 99 points 2 years ago. He had 82 points. He had 99 points 3 years ago. He had 82 points 2 years ago. And last year, he had a career high 103 points. Could acquiring a player that has 103 points be helpful? Of course. I mean, obviously, sure, there's a chance it is. I'm not huge on JT Miller. It has been speculated. Now, you don't know if this is true or not, but I'm going to go off of it because I've seen it reported in multiple places that he does come wherever he goes with some locker room issues. Knowing that the New York Rangers team has not been free of locker room issues this year, AKA, whatever you want to say, AKA Jacob Trouba, Barkley, Goodrow, Capo, Caco, whatever you want to say. I'm not sure bringing in a player, if the locker room issues are true, bringing in a player that has locker room issues is the right fit right now. Of course, the other thing you would have to keep in mind here is, what is the cost going the other way? What would you be sending to Vancouver to acquire a player like JT Miller? Now, it was rumored this weekend, the one name that was consistently in there was Philip Hedl. I don't have a problem with that. Look, I like Filipino and he's been good, but we all know him well enough to know, because he's been here his entire career. He was drafted with the Rangers, is that Filipino is a major injury risk all the time. Every
Mhm.
time he steps on the ice, it's on my mind. So if you told me I could get rid of an injury risk for a player that had 103 points last year, of course I'm going to do that. I've seen Ryan Lindgren mentioned in the deal. That wouldn't bother me, because I don't think Ryan Lindgren's coming back here next year. He's an unrestricted free agent. I don't think the team is resigning him. Matter of fact, I don't think there's any chance they're resigning him. So I wouldn't mind that. Where I get worried, it's the things that are beyond that. So are you giving up a first round pick? Are there protections on that first round pick? Because let's be real, there are no guarantees here that the Rangers are definitely making the playoffs, which would mean if they don't, that first round pick then has even more value. And if they have more value, I'm not sure I want a first round pick going the other way that's unprotected. Okay. The other thing is, what prospect are you going to send the other way in the deal? Could I give up Othman? I guess I don't love it. I guess I would. Would I give up Adam Sakura? Yeah, I guess I would. I wouldn't want to get. I mean, I'm not having Gabe Perreault be in the conversation. Apparently, Vancouver wanted to talk about Lafreniere. That's not even an option. So I'm not sure that I'm giving up a lot in return. And the other question that comes into play, and it sounds like this was the hiccup on why the deal or potential deal fell apart on Saturday, was, will Vancouver retain some of that salary? And if Vancouver retains some of the salary, maybe even 50%, then that even looks like a much better deal if you can get it.
Absolutely.
What do you think?
Well, I mean, like you're getting a reverse rental. You're letting people go that you're not signing back. So
Where the JT Miller stuff is interesting is Vancouver and the general manager out there, Patrick Alvin, is in a tough spot. Everyone knows JT Miller needs to leave there, and he's got a no move clause. So if JT Miller is playing hardball with them, he's not giving them a lot of options and where they can send him. And Chris Drury, for example, knows this and doesn't have to overpay. I'm not anti JT Miller, but I'm not overly excited about it. And Travel Master with a good point. JT Miller has 7 years left on the deal. That's amazing for us. And that is a very, very good point. And that also brings in the point of, if you could get the 7 years left on the deal with salary retention, salary retained by Vancouver, even better.
Yeah.
I'm not anti getting JT Miller, but I'm not really for it either.
Well,
I
it
guess
sounds like it's his personality that bothers you. So what has he done in the locker room?
so. The other star out there, Pedersen, and him just do not get along at all. I don't know. And again, we're not. I don't follow Vancouver enough to tell you, but it's definitely been some stuff out there that you don't like to see. He was on a um, uh, personal leave of absence, which has been the reason has not come out, nor should it. But you've read different things. Some of the things have said it's because of his attitude. So if 50% of it is retained, it would be $4 million a year, and Chris is saying he has 5 years left, not 7. Look, I'm not against it, but I am against it if you're going to give up something bad going the other way. Filipino is fine. Lindgren is fine to give up. Schneider is not, and it sounds like the Rangers are reluctant to trade him, which is good. So I don't think that he would be on the move. Lafreniere is definitely not moving. Jury's not going to do that. So if I put the pieces together and I said it had to be Hedel a first that was unprotected and maybe Othman, would I do it if the salary was retained? I probably would. I probably would, but I'm also like, I'm not jumping at the seams to get JT Miller, if that makes any sense. And I'm sorry that my answer there is not clear, like one way or the other. Am I comfortable? Jesse's comment or question on Instagram: are you comfortable with him going to Carolina? I'd rather him not go there. I mean, for sure. Right now, I mean, I guess I could answer it as another question: is, are the Rangers right now competitive with Carolina? The Rangers aren't in the playoffs right now. So if I knew that it was, you were looking like a 2-3 matchup in the playoffs again, definitively, and you had a very high likelihood of seeing Carolina again, I would not like him to go to Carolina.
True.
I'd rather him go elsewhere, but it sounds like he is wanting to play on the East Coast. And it sounds like the Rangers are his number one choice. I would not want the Devils to get him. I've heard him mentioned. B-Rock, would you want JT Miller on the Devils? Yeah.
Wow.
B-Rock would. The Devils are struggling to score goals in the short term right now. So, I mean, it's certainly that would sound good. JT Miller could definitely help the team. I mean, I'm not sitting here saying it would be the worst trade ever. It's a matter of what goes the other way. that would be my major concern.
I say get him. Let's get him. Let's get him. Let's score some goals.
We'll see. And as Travel Master said, and kind of alluded to what I just said there, the one at the bottom, JT Miller is a full no move clause. So if he wants to only come to us, we have all the leverage, which is true, which Chris Drury certainly knows how to use. So the Rangers continue their homestand tomorrow night. They are home against the Philadelphia Flyers, who I believe, I just had this up. Let me go back to it. The Flyers are tied with the Rangers with 50 points. So, if you're on the train of making the playoffs, the big game tomorrow night, inner rivalry game with playoff implications on the line. Sunday, they have a rematch with the Colorado Avalanche. That'll be Sunday afternoon at the Garden. And then Tuesday night, they are home against the aforementioned, through Jesse James, Carolina Hurricanes, who come to the Garden, who always play well at the Garden. For some reason, the Hurricanes always play well at the Garden. So an interesting week of games coming up for the Rangers. If I look at the wild card, so the Bruins have So even though the Senators and the Canadiens are 2 points ahead of them, between them, you still have the Bruins, who also have 52 points. The Blue Jackets have 51 points. The Rangers have 50 points. The Flyers, as I said, also have 50 points. And the Penguins are 2 points behind at 48. It's a mad scramble here.
And we got about, 30 games left?
35 games.
Let's go. Let's go. Rem sanity.
I'm not. I can't with the Rem sanity stuff. It's just not, to me, what I want. And I knew
Rem sanity to JT Miller score.
So my wife was out last night, and she came home in the third period and looked at the score, and I don't remember if she asked me who scored. Oh, no, she did, and I said Rempe, and she had to look like, oh, here we go. Like, she knew, because it's true. If you're not on the Rempe train, like if you're not if you're not in his fan club, him scoring a goal last night was not helpful, because you now got to hear from the fan club more. So I would assume the Rangers stick with Igor tomorrow versus the Flyers, as well as Sunday and Tuesday versus Carolina. Yes.
Yep.
Dougie would make a Rem sanity button if he was able to. Yes. And Alvin, who wrote that, I got to meet Alvin at the game on Saturday night. I got to meet him at the first intermission. Awesome guy. We thank you for listening. Knows his stuff. One thing that I'm grateful for that has happened with this whole MYPB platform, even, and this really goes out to all of you that are watching, particularly all of you that are in the chat right now on Instagram and all that stuff, is you guys are all so knowledgeable. Like if I meet you at intermission in a game, or if we're talking on DM, like I never deal with, it's like I never feel like I'm talking to someone who doesn't know what they are talking about. I may disagree on opinions on stuff like Rempe or whatnot, but it just, people are really good. You can pull up Alvin's thing, and it was a pleasure to meet you as well. John on Instagram, Connor McRempe. I have not heard that one. Then we have some other comments. The Rempe train has a low hockey IQ. So we shall see. Any other, before I switch to football, which we will do in a minute, if there's any other topics those of you watching live want to talk about. Okay, we'll talk about, how did you skate with Graves yesterday? If you follow, I will pull up Travel Master's comment. If you follow our show, you know that I was on the ice at MSG yesterday with Adam Graves. So I have season tickets, as you all know, and from time to time, they don't do it every year, but they do it most years. They sometimes will do season subscriber skating events. Like some years, reading the comment, Jeff didn't skate well. Trust me, I didn't skate well. Yes, Chris is right on that. Some years they will do season subscriber events, and they include skates on the Garden. When they do, you have to jump on it. And I did do that. Now, the one thing about it, and my season ticket rep said this to me when he invited me last week, was, look, it's 1:00 in the afternoon on a Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to have to pull your kids out of school if they want to come. Now, we gave our 2 kids the option what they wanted to do, as any kid was going to say they wanted to go and miss school. Now, I don't know how much that the draw of that was the fact they got to miss school, but they did have a good time. And Adam Graves did come out in the last half hour that we were on the ice. And it wasn't that crowded either. It wasn't like there was like hundreds of people on the ice. Adam Graves came out and skated. He took pictures, and he was actually helping my son Tyler with his skating as well, and showing him a little bit of an easier way to tie his laces a little bit tighter at the top. So that is how I do it. And the Rangers do a great job with that. Whenever they have season subscriber events, I will tell you how much that organization cares. They put out, when we were leaving yesterday, they had a spread of it was either Gatorade or Powerades. They had bottles of water. They had cookies. They had granola bars. They had, what are those bars? Cliff bars? The Cliff bars. Like, they really, even when they do any season subscriber event, they always have refreshments. They did something at the Javits Center last year. They had like unlimited hot dogs and burgers and pretzel. I mean, the Rangers season ticket office, they really do a good job, I have to say, when they do these season subscriber events. Now, selfishly, I wish they did them all the time, but I mean, they don't, but they do a good job. So shout out to ticket reps that at the Garden that do that. But that is how I did get to skate on the ice with Graves. And Adam Graves, if you've ever met him, I have never met anyone that has a negative thing to say about Adam Graves. He is seriously the nicest human being on the planet. Anytime I've met him, but absolutely the nicest guy. Instagram comment, what have you heard about Sikora and Gabe Perreault? I don't think Gabe Perreault is getting traded for JT Miller. Matter of fact, if Gabe Perreault got traded for JT Miller, we would have a major problem. Sikora, I could see potentially happening. I don't love it, but Perreault to me wouldn't even be an option. As a matter of fact, if I'm Chris Drury and I'm getting a call and they're asking for Gabe Perreault, I just hang up the phone. It's just a waste of time. We don't even need to continue the rest of the deal. Anyone, Gabe Perreault should be untouchable. And yes, he did endorse the win-in for Sam Hoodie. I have to get him one. He asked for. He asked for it. Now I don't have extra ones in my back pocket.
You should just take off the one off your back.
That would have been nice, Doug. There were children there. I have to find a way to get him one. I told him that I would get him a Mind
That's when you get the number, dude. Give me a number. I'll send it over.
I'm sure people like that.
And then we get him on. Really, and then we get him on the show.
Are loving getting that out. But yes, so much agree about Graves. Just the nicest guy. If you can meet Adam Graves, I will assure you on my life he will be nice to you and give you the time of day. All right, so football. We are down on the Final Four on Sunday. You have the NFC Championship versus the Washington Commanders versus the Philadelphia Eagles, followed in the nightcap, which is, I think, the better of the two games, the AFC Championship with the Buffalo Bills going to Kansas City. Let's start. Oh, wait a sec. What were our bets last week? Oh, I just won double Chinese.
Double Chinese, double TS.
Yeah, because you had the Rams.
I wanted the Rams. I also wanted the Lions.
Oh, wait a second. No. Did you have the Bills and I had the Ravens to cancel each other out?
I had the Bills.
Yeah, no. So last week is a wash because I had the Ravens. So I had the Ravens and lost. You had the Eagles and lost. So you don't owe me double Chinese. You just give me the one Chinese I still owe, which I'm getting today.
We still have more playoffs.
Okay, yeah, we'll get there. So did I buy the Kith and Kin jerseys? I just see no, but the other night they did give away free T-shirts for Kith and Kin when the game I was at. All right, so Washington at Philly. I want my biggest. So I have two requests for the NFL playoffs. I only have two things left that I want to happen. My first request is that the Eagles do not win the Super Bowl. Absolutely, my first request.
True.
My second request, which I could live without, provided the Eagles don't win the Super Bowl, I would like Buffalo to win the Super Bowl.
I agree with that.
You also were a product of the Buffalo educational system.
Yes, I went to school, Buffalo.
Yeah, so I mean, you should have
snowed every day.
But then again, I
can drive anywhere now.
But I don't cheer for Boston sports teams because I went to school up there.
Yeah.
But all right, so Washington at Philly.
I would love Jaden Daniels to kick Eagles' butt.
Do they have a? Well, I guess they have a chance.
Bro, they beat the Lions.
They beat the Lions, and the Eagles barely got past them. And I believe that if I'm not mistaken, the Commanders beat the Eagles when they played the last time down in DC. So if I
don't
look at the
mind- I
line,
don't mind the Commanders.
oh my
I
God, the
hate
line is
Eagles.
moved. The line opened at -4.5 for the Eagles. It's now -6, and it's still trending more, and more money's on -6. So, this makes me sick. I'm gonna pick the Eagles. Again,
Are
I
you
want to be
picking
wrong.
Eagles money line? Or you picking Eagles with the spread?
No, I'm not doing the spreads in playoffs. Because you got to just get on.
Yeah.
You got to move on. I'm taking the Eagles here.
I want the Commanders, so emotionally, I'm going to make this bet with the Commanders.
Okay. All right. There's my double or nothing Chinese. Well, unless we differ on the next one.
I don't think we are though.
No. Well, I think here's where I'm going to be different. -1.5. It's
It's the
slightly
third time in a row these two teams meet in the AFC
it's
playoffs.
it's a slight advantage for the Chiefs. I want to pick Buffalo. My wife likes the Bills. I'd like her to get a championship. A lot of our college friends are diehard Bills fans. I know what that franchise has been like. I want to pick the Bills. Okay. I want to, and I want them to win. I will root for them if we're watching on Sunday, which we should be, because I'm sure my wife will want to watch. What I just have a hard time at the same time picking against the team that has won it the last 2 years and is home. Until I see otherwise, how would I pick against them in a game that is virtually a pick 'em? Right? I don't know. I'm taking Kansas City.
Good.
I'm
'Cause
gonna.
I'm taking the Bills.
Okay. So we are completely
Split
different again.
Yeah.
So you're either gonna owe me 2 Chineses. We're gonna break even.
TS Ma. We gotta say the name.
Yeah. TS Ma. That's true. We only
It's
get
marketing. TS Ma, the #1 Chinese restaurant in New Jersey.
It is. Do you know? True story.
Yeah.
The other day. Now I live like 25 minutes from here, but I don't live that far. This is true. I swear to you, this is true.
Yeah.
I live 25 minutes away. In the town that I live in, there is a parent group. So, and you have probably like 1,000 members of people that live in my town, and you write things on here like, "Hey, does anyone have a recommendation for a painter? Where do you go to get an oil change?" All of these things that people write about. Okay, someone wrote the other day, where is the best place to get local Chinese food? Now, the answer is not TS Ma because we're 25 minutes away, right? So people write the place in town, which is not great, or a place the other way. Someone actually wrote in the comments, go to TS Ma in Wyckoff, which is amazing because no one will ever go there. It's like 30 minutes away. But the fact that someone gave TS Ma a shout out in a group that's not affiliated with anywhere near TS Ma, I thought was a nice endorsement.
#1
It is.
Chinese restaurant in New Jersey.
So that NFL game, that'll be the last one. And as Chris is pointing out, well, we should say this:
was the mayor of
Philadelphia. If you need a reason more to dislike the city of brotherly love or Philadelphia, the mayor of Philadelphia, and I apologize for not knowing the woman's name, was at a press conference the other day and tried to say the right thing and do the Eagles chant that they do, EAGLES, 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 and spell the
Wow,
Eagles
you do
wrong.
that too well, Jeff. You do that too well. Are you an Eagles fan in disguise?
No, definitely not. Hate them. I've been to a game. I think I've been to 2 Eagles games. The last one I was at, they played the Giants. This was 2001. So they played my senior year of. You could look it up. They played in Philly the end of December, because we were home on winter break. So a bunch of my friends and I went down, and we were all wearing Giant stuff, which was, not the smartest thing to do, but there were other Giant fans there. And I don't remember if the game was meaningful or not either. But when we got back to our car, because we had all been tailgating, and I was the one that drove, when we got back to our car, people in our area knew we were Giant fans because we had been hanging out with them, 4 hours prior in the tailgate.
Car.
No, there were 4. I don't remember if it was Miller Lite. It was either I think it was Miller Lite, actually. Glass bottles, and they were positioned under my tires.
What?
So that it's true story. When I would back up out of the spot, I don't think the tire, I'm not a car guy, but I don't think the tires would break, but it would do something like eventually I would lose the air in the floor. It was the intention.
I don't think it would have punctured far enough to get to the air or whatever, that, like, it's not, the shards wouldn't have been that long, but it's just the intent.
It was
the possibility that they could ruin you and your family's day.
And yes, Chris, it was JT Miller Lite was the beer I see. But they actually, true story, they did that to my car.
That's crazy.
And when that happened, we thankfully saw it ahead of time. So we were able to move the
Wow.
bottles before we proceeded to back
That's
up
crazy.
out of Lincoln Financial Field.
See, like, I'm all about smack talk, and there's a fine line, as we saw with I think it was the Eagles fan yelling at some Packer fan. I don't know if you saw that video or whatever. Just whatever. There's a fine line, like, talking smack like you and B-Rock do, Devils and Rangers. Like, that's fine, but like, don't put nails behind someone's car.
And as we've talked about here, B-Rock and I are the epitome of two people that literally despise the other person's teams, but have the most respectful banter. Like even coming in here today, because he was here before you, and him and I were talking about, I haven't asked him, like, what's wrong with the Devils? You keep losing. And we don't get into smack talk. Like I don't think we respect the team that the other one roots for, but we certainly have a lot of respect for the person. And and when we get to like this Four Nations face off in a couple of weeks where the NHL shuts down for 2 weeks and we need stuff to talk about, I'm having B-Rock on because I'm going to talk about it. He knows the thing he said last month that I'm going to call him out on, that we're going to have a debate on. A pinch of cute Emma. My boyfriend was wearing a Giants cap to a Phillies game and fans were ready to kill us. Yeah. Yep. You can't mess with Philly sports fans. Now, we've talked about it here. I've been to the Rangers in Philly the last 2 years with my kids, and my kids actually get as much of a kick out of the fans as they do the team on the ice. So thank you for joining us. That is it for this week. We thank the Bamboozle Project, as always, for their sponsorship. Go to thebamboozleproject.com. Use promo code MYPB. Save yourself a whopping 20% off your total order. We thank DraftKings as well. The Rangers home tomorrow night against the Flyers, home Sunday afternoon on a matinee versus the Avalanche, and home Tuesday night versus the Hurricanes. We are back with you on Wednesday to break it down. You are welcome, Paul. Thank you for tuning in this morning. And whenever you stream this episode, if you're listening to us not live on replay or repeat, whether it's using the SAP feature or not, we hope you enjoy what you see as we enjoy you guys. And we thank you for interacting with us. And we will talk to you next week.